Welcome to the Kingdom Corner. I'm Andrew, and with me, as always, is my good friend, your favorite pastor, Mr. Dale Baker. How are we doing this morning?
And as you texted me the other day, the Arrowhead Invitational is back on.
That's right. That's right.
So took a year off, but we're back. We're back at it here, and so here we go. Chiefs hosting the AFC Championship game. It's been a long time, it feels like, but it's going to be great.
Yeah, 7 straight AFC Championship games. I mean, that
Man,
is an incredible feat, no matter who you are. I
right?
mean, there's a lot of guys who never make seven in their career, let alone 7 straight. So, I mean, that is the magic of Mahomes, as they say, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's lots of good things about this game in the Texans and some things of concern as well as some player reactions that maybe they're surprising to you or maybe not. Also, are the refs really favoring the Chiefs? We have discussed all that and more coming up. So come over here and hang out with us.
Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown! Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions.
How about those Chiefs?
All right, Dale. So Chiefs and Texans. And so before we jump too far into this, we need to make sure we remind everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast, leave a review. You know it helps us as much as anything, honestly. Leaving reviews and commenting. Like that helps us so much. So please do that and help us out. I mean, we would greatly appreciate it. And are so thankful you are joining us here to listen to our I don't want to say limited insights, but our our
Yeah.
our average fan review
Yes. There you
of
go.
what's going on. So maybe we're a little more than average, but we have other jobs. How about that?
There
So,
you go.
but hey, it's all good, and man, we enjoyed doing it. We're so glad you're here to join us. And so, Texans and Chiefs, Dale, what stood out to you from the start of this game?
Yeah, I thought a little bit. I mean, I don't. I know they'll deny it, but I thought the offense looked a little rusty. Even the defense looked a little rusty in the first half, and
Yeah,
so that stood out. I think the other big thing stands out. Man, it seems like when we need a play, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, Chris Jones. I mean, the defense, the offense, they step up. The offensive line, they step up to make that play. So,
yeah,
I mean, like just for instance, I mean, I know we'll get into it, but when the Texans cut it to 1 point, what do we
hmm
do? We respond and drive down right down the field and score a touchdown, in dramatic
yeah,
fashion at that.
yeah.
And so I just think that was the big thing that stood out. Like the Chiefs are so situational that they're like, oh, okay, we need a play. Let's go down and do it. And so, yeah, I think that was the big thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, and I think one of the commentators said it in the game broadcast as well. But they said, it's amazing how the Chiefs can force any team to play to what the Chiefs want to do. I was
Yeah.
like, man, that is so true. Like throughout the regular season, this postseason so far, even every game, these teams that have played against the Chiefs have not necessarily played to their game. Not saying that they're calling the same plays as the Chiefs, but they're not playing to the high octane game of scoring 40 points, or they're not playing
Right.
to whatever their strength is. They're playing to how the Chiefs want to play, just keeping it close the whole way to the end so the Chiefs can just land the knockout punch. So
Yeah.
I agree, though. The Chiefs started out a little bit slow on both offense and defense. Pat was missing a few guys. But all that, I think, is just what happens when you take almost a month off.
Yeah.
But I think the flip side of that is you saw the rest and the recovery and
Yeah.
just the energy of these guys of having that much time off to let their bodies recover. I mean, I think that was very visible in the Texans game as well.
Yeah, I think I just pulled up the box score and just to look at the box score, and if you were to look at these numbers and you didn't know the score, you would have thought the Texans won the game. They had 33 minutes of possession versus 26. They had 65 total plays. Kansas City only had 50. They had total yards 336 to 212. And so
Yeah.
I mean, and then you just kind of look at that and you're like, you go down. But yeah, it's wild to think like, oh man, did the Texans just run away with this? Because that's kind of
Yeah.
like what we've talked about is like how you beat the Chiefs is put Pat Mahomes on the sideline,
Yeah.
and make sure. But yet again, we score 23 points. I know it's not over 30, and I know the media is going to go crazy because we didn't score over 30. Maybe they should ask how Detroit is feeling today.
That's right.
Because I think they had 11
That's right.
games over 30 points.
Yeah.
And Yeah. So
Didn't work out for him.
Didn't work out for him.
Hey,
Did
I'll
it?
tell you this: defense still wins championships, no
Yeah.
matter what people say. Yes, offense is important; it's the thing that drives a lot of teams. Defense still wins championships
Yeah.
because even if you have a great offense, your defense has got to make a couple of big stops, at
Right.
least one or two a game.
I think.
And you
Yeah.
don't have to do a lot. Like even when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl, you could say that was the worst defense that Mahomes has won
Yeah.
a Super Bowl with, at least in
Right.
his career. But they made a couple big stops in that first Super Bowl. You remember on that final drive, Chris Jones batted down like two passes, and then they got a game-stealing interception by Kendall Fuller back there. So I mean, the defense made plays, even in the seasons that the Chiefs have quote not had a good defense
Right.
to help the offense out. And so that's what happened to the Lions too. Is their offense was so good, but their defense couldn't make any stops. And when you do that, you're not going to win. So it's just how it works. And so, yeah, I'll take the not scoring 30 any day if that means we're still winning games.
Only giving up 12 points. I mean,
Yeah.
really, they only gave up 12 points. The defense did, and so a touchdown, 2 field goals. So I know the score's 14, but that was intentional. Which at first, look, can we talk about that play real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
All
for
right.
it.
I don't want to mess up your rundown. But how'd you feel about when at first in the real time, I did not like the safety. I did not like going for the safety. But then after thinking about it, like, oh, that makes a lot of more sense for us as like you have more control on a kickoff than you do a punt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When the first time I was like, what are we doing? He said, okay. But before he even got out, I was like, all right, I get it. We're still
Yeah.
going to be up 2 possessions. And we're still going to be able to waste more time and then still be able to kick the ball off. So
Right.
it's all gamesmanship right there. So, yeah, when this first running back there, and he ran back to the end zone, I thought he's going to run out. I thought he was just going to hold it for a long time and then kick it or maybe throw it or something.
Yeah.
Maybe even slide down, but then he just kept running backwards. And I was like, oh, what is happening? What is happening? Then I realized
Yeah.
it was all part of the plan, and I thought, okay, I get it. I get it. But yeah, I do like it does make me feel better just as a fan standpoint, though. Holding any team to a lesser amount of points, even if it's a 2 point difference, it just
Right.
makes you feel better. It's like, hey, yeah, we only held them to 12, not 14, but
Right.
either way, got that 14 on the board. So, but hey, they're still up 2 possessions, and they still have plenty of time to do whatever they want to do and force just a kneel down to end the game by the Texans. So, hats off to them and to the coaching staff. They knew what they were doing more than I did. So.
Yeah, they got a big notebook to tell us the different situations and different things. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So this is the big thing everybody's talking about after the game, though.
Okay.
Is there a bias in these refs towards the Chiefs? I mean, from what I hear, the Chiefs get all the calls. Nobody else gets any. And every call that the Chiefs have it. And it's not that the Chiefs get necessarily more calls than everybody
Right.
else, but they get more calls in critical situations according to
Yeah.
everybody else. So
Yeah.
is this really true, Dale? Do you think that there's any now, first off, set your biasy aside of your fandom with the Chiefs.
Oof.
I know that's hard to do, but try
That
to
is
do that for a
hard to
second.
do. That's hard to do.
Is there anything to this that there is a biasy for the Chiefs in critical situations?
Well, I think like that first one, the first roughing the passer, it was not a critical. It was not a last minute drive. It wasn't them
Right.
going to like get scored. So I wouldn't call that a critical possession. But I would say to the Texans, hey, how about don't hit high? Don't even even if you didn't hit him in the head. Let's just pretend you did it. Even though the other angle the media refuses to show clearly shows you making contact with the head, which is an automatic foul. Anyway,
And not only with the head, with the crown of your helmet on the head. So,
yeah. And no matter how much. Anyway, so how about not making that? I think it'd be a better idea. Don't put yourself in a position where the ref is even into question. So, not to hit like super low, but you have to but just push him, right? Because you're not going to sack him. Was in his motion. And so I just think the defense, the players need to be smarter in that sense. And so I know Will Anderson could end my life in a minute. And I'm not saying I'm not blaming that, but I'm just saying, hey, be like, just push them to the ground, instead of trying to blow them up. And then I think the same thing with that slide is I know they have committed and they did do a pretty good job of getting over, but I still think they made a little bit of contact with him while he was on the ground. And so Roger Goodell has, I don't know for how many years, to say, hey, we're going to protect these quarterbacks. Tom Brady was still playing and he got a lot of fandom calls, and just soft calls. And so I'm like, hey, this is what it means to be a superstar. You're going to get protected and extra protection, and whether that's right or wrong, but that's how the NFL has been played for years. Peyton Manning got calls. Tom Brady got calls. Big Ben, man, maybe he didn't get so many calls, but there was an extra protection around the superstars.
Yeah, I mean, and you can say the same thing for Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. All those guys get it. But I will say this, that first call, absolutely 100% is a foul. It's going to be called 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, because you make contact with the head or the helmet of the quarterback in the backfield.
Right.
That's going to be called. They've made that very clear. You cannot touch a guy's head. And with all the CTE things that everybody's been talking about, they've made a conscious effort for a lot of the guys that if you purposely lower your head with the crown of your helmet and you drive it into someone else and especially someone else's head, that's going to be a foul and a penalty every single time.
Every time.
I don't know why we're even talking about this one, honestly.
Right.
The second one, I agree with the fans. That one should not have been called because Mahomes was out of the pocket. Not only was he out of the pocket, but he'd already passed the line of scrimmage. He was trying to run forward.
Right.
He tried to, maneuver around, and it was a very, very last-minute slide where the defenders had already committed.
Yeah.
Which is why the defenders mostly jumped over him. And yes, they had some contact, but it was very minimal contact.
Yeah.
And probably from the ref standpoint, from where they're standing, maybe it looked like more than it was. So I get the complaint from the fans from that side because that should not have been called. I 100% agree with that.
And I think he slid only to protect himself, to not get blown up. I don't think he was like that. I don't think he was really sliding to give himself up, but to protect himself. Like, hey, I'm going to get down so I don't get blown up. And then and again, that wasn't a critical play because I think it was second down. So they still had third down, and Kansas City is the most efficient team on third down. Now they weren't very efficient this game, but they're historically they were the most efficient team on third down all year. And so, could they have gotten on third down? Yeah, the way that the Texans were covering Travis Kelce, I don't know if they knew who Travis Kelce was.
Man, I know. So, have you ever seen him more open? But the other side is too. There's another play in here that Patrick Mahomes did his best LeBron James interpretation. Where he tried to flop out of bounds and first off, he's still in bounds when they got hit. There's no reason, and he didn't get a call there anyways. I'm thinking. No. I mean, when you first saw that, what was your thought? Where you thought, might as well try to do what you can to get a foul, or you like, why even do it?
Well, I mean, I may have a little bit of that in me too, as well. So playing in high school basketball and things like that, I'm going to oversell something, and who knows what would happen? Another 15. So yeah, I mean, LeBron has made a living out of flopping, and so why not flop and put it in the officials' hands? But yeah, I definitely think that was like. Come on, Mahomes. You're better than that. It's football. It's not basketball. Come on.
They do call LeBron the king for something. So that might be the king of flopping. So, I mean, a guy that big, not to get too much on LeBron, but a guy that big who's falling over from a guy a third his size, I mean, come on. But anyways, that's a whole different sport. But
yeah, I wasn't a big fan. I guess I wasn't a big fan of it, but I understood what he's trying to do. A little gamesmanship, a little like, hey.
Touch me. I 100% understand what he's trying to do, but I'm with you. I'm not a fan. It's like, dude, it's football. Let's play the game, okay? You're going to take hits, and if you're going to run, that's what happens. So, So, anyways, but what about Joe Thuney here? So, Joe Thuney moves out to left tackle, but here's the flip side. Their interior run game has for sure diminished since he moved to the left tackle.
Oh, yeah.
So is it worth having Joe Thuney at left tackle for that protection, or would you rather have a stronger run game like we were having most of the season when Joe Thuney was inside?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Man. That is
because,
a good question.
And I'll say this, so you can't just move Joe Thuney around during the game because then the defense knows exactly what you're doing.
Right.
So they know if it's a pass or a run if you move him around based on where he's lined up. So you cannot do that. You have to line him up the same spot.
Yeah, you have to commit to him to where he's at. So I think you what gives Pat most protection, I think you keep him. You keep him Thuney out there because I don't think you want to I think Kareem Hunt and Pacheco they can make runs, and maybe we can just Andy Reid's known as the king of the screenplay, and so I think we can get different runs, looks, or like runs, and that in screens, and so yeah, I think keep Tooney out there.
Yep.
I mean, like that guy needs to get all pro. I mean, we need to go back in the voting and just go ahead and give him all pro left tackle.
Yeah, give him 2 positions at all pro. Might as well, right? So fill it out there with just Joe Tooney. Yeah, I agree, though. He should be at left tackle. He had one really bad snap where he gave up a sack, and that's really his worst snap of being at that position since he's come in to that position the last 3 or 4 games or however long it's been.
How many sacks did the Texans have in the wild card weekend? Didn't they have like 9 or was it 8?
It was something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere around 8. Somewhere between 7 and 9.
Okay. All right. 7 and 9. So, so that would be, man, I thought we did a great job of protecting him and keeping him up. And that's with a left guard at left tackle.
Yeah. Cause I think they had 3 sacks in yesterday's game, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a defense to going up against that and an offensive or a defensive line like that, who's been known to put pressure and only give 3 sacks, with a guard at left tackle is pretty phenomenal. But I keep him at left tackle too because I think Mahomes is your most important weapon and the weapon that can create the most, even more than your running backs.
Right.
And so you want to protect and help the place or the person on your team who's going to help you the most, and that's Mahomes.
Right.
So you
and so
keep
what?
him at left tackle because of that.
So DJ Humphries is still practicing. Do you think he can knock that rust off and we'll see him maybe in the AFC Championship game? Or if we get past that, do you think we see him in the Super Bowl?
I don't think you're going to this year.
Okay.
So I think I'm not saying he won't get there, but I think just because of where he's at as far as his recovery from his injury as well as learning the new system for the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be a minute. So I don't know if they're gonna keep him for next year or not, but if they do, maybe you'll see him competing for that left tackle spot if they don't address it in the draft or free agency. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I think for now you got to go with what's working for you and what's hot, as we've talked about before. And so I think you got to keep Joe Tooney at left tackle and keep rolling with it. So, but because Joe Tooney's moved out there, our run game has suffered some. Pacheco's come back from his injury. He does not look the same.
No.
Kareem Hunt, he's still the older running back in the room, but he's falling forward still. So, I mean, who do you start there if you're Andy Reid? Are you still putting Pacheco out there as a starter, or are you just going to roll with Hunt?
Yeah, I'm rolling with Hunt. Give me Hunt all day. I mean, that guy is hungry. You can tell he's running. It feels like he's running different than he was in the regular season. They talk about how playoff games always speed you up, but like he broke out of a couple of those, where he was running and like, man, he's gonna score. It looked like old Kareem Hunt.
That one I thought he was gonna score on, and then the safety came into view and thought, okay, maybe not. But
he had 5.5 yards a carry.
That's
which
phenomenal.
8 touches, 44 yards. Why aren't we running him more? Let's go.
Yeah.
So
how many touches did Pacheco get?
He had 5 for 18 yards.
Yeah, so they're really close in touches then. So and Mahomes had probably the most rush yards. I guess not. He just had
he had 7 attempts, 14 yards. And
and keep in mind too, he probably had 3 of those that were all for about 4 or 5 yard losses there in that last possession for the Chiefs offense. So, because he wasn't just kneeling, he was taking the ball, going backwards, so the defense was right on him, then taking it.
Right. So if
he probably would have been closer to 20, 25 yards if it hadn't been for that. But yeah, I kind of like what they're doing a little. I'd start with Kareem Hunt and give him more carries, but I'm still putting Pacheco in there because Kareem Hunt, as much as I love that he's back and a lot of the fans are too, he's still an older back, and you saw from the season when Pacheco wasn't in there, his body was getting worn down and he was getting worn out. So you don't want to just feed him 25, 30 times a game, but I would feed him 15 times a game.
Do you think our run should be a little more than if we just do the 2 running backs at 12? Do you think we should be running?
Yes.
Okay. Or 13. Yeah. So I mean, you think,
there's a lot of situational that goes into these decisions as well, but I would say you'd want to run the ball a lot more than 10 times in a game just to have a little more balance and to keep that defense honest. Because otherwise, all they're doing is sitting back and coming after your quarterback and trying to lock down your receivers, and they're not hardly worried about the running back because you're only going to do it 10 times in the game. So I'll take my chances with the other 40 plays or 50 plays or however many you get, with the pass. So. You got to do that just to balance it out. And I'm not saying you have to do 50-50, but you definitely want to do more than 10 run plays in a game. You want to be 30 would be a lot. 25 would be, between two running backs. So 30 wouldn't be bad either. So, but I'd say for us with two running backs, you want to be closer to 25 runs a game.
Right. And I think a lot of times, I think I can see why Andy Reid gets discouraged with the running game because our first play, we hand it off to Pop, and Pop runs right into his guy. And I'm like, what is going on? And just falls down, and it's just like one of those things where like, man, I think we and then Kareem Hunt gets in there, he gets positive yards. And I think that's what we need is even if it's 3 yards, that's positive. That's like a beating ahead of 6. And so it just it puts you in a bad situation when you get 0 yards or negative yards on a run. And so I can see why you're like, do we want to take the ball out of the best player's hands too on the field, Pat Mahomes? So he only had 25 attempts, which I thought was surprising as well.
Yeah. So here's the big difference too between Hunt and Pacheco. Pacheco is just a sprinter as far as a runner, kind of like Jamal Charles, except Jamal Charles is a lot more explosive. So I'm not comparing the two because Jamal Charles is in a whole nother league.
Yeah, one of my favorite players that you just talked about there. So he's so smooth.
He was, man, he was so good. But Pacheco wants to run like that. That's what his goal is. You can tell just by how he does it. The problem with Pacheco is he doesn't. His vision for the field is very limited. Yeah, he looks to where his hole is supposed to be, and he might. Veer just a little bit, turning his head, but he's not seeing the whole field to see where maybe there's another hole that's opening up. And that's the difference between him and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has field vision. He might not have the explosiveness of Isaiah Pacheco, but he sees the field. And if where the hole is an open, he sees the other hole that he's running through. And that's why Hunt is always getting positive yards and falling forward rather than falling backwards.
Yeah. So this is way down the road, but did the Chiefs draft a running back this year?
Not in the first round.
Okay.
So, but I think they are very keen on drafting late round running backs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele, Isaiah Pacheco, these are all late round running backs. They are very much high on drafting late round running backs to see what they can get in someone. So they're not going to do it in the first 2 rounds. Though.
Okay, all right.
I'll put it that way. So I think they're going to be looking at some other positions to fill that. So, but the big thing about the playoffs and this game is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
There you go. Now we're getting to it.
Does anybody flip a switch more than those guys? We talked about him. So, hey, Travis Kelce getting up there in age, can he still flip a switch? And I think we both kind of said, he's still Travis Kelce. He's going to have some time off. And what do you know? He flipped a switch. And not only did he flip a switch, then the Houston Texans decided we don't need to guard him. And then he just burned you. I mean, on that big play that he had that he ran for 40-some yards, I mean, I really want him to get in the end zone there. That
2 years ago, he would have. 2 years ago, he would have, for sure.
Well, did you see Xavier Worthy after the game even said, hey, younger Travis Kelce would have scored there. So
yeah, I believe it. So
even on that run, though, he made 3 or 4 guys miss on that run, laying on the ground in the dust. So, hey, glad to have him on our team.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes effect it's real, and I think that's going to only help us moving forward in the sense that people are going to focus. They're going to see this and they're going to go, okay, we have to focus on 8-7, and that's going to hopefully open up the rest of the field for the other guys. And so, but yeah, to see Travis Kelce run, it makes me happy as a Chiefs fan because we don't know how many more years he has left with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. Some are saying this could be it. This could be the last ride. I hope not, but I'm just happy for the guy, and then just to have all the postseason records like he does, and he is like the most team centered guy you will talk to. I mean, he doesn't care about really being number one on all those different lists. He cares about just getting wins and he's having fun. He's having fun doing it, and it's great. It's great. It's fun to watch him play. And yeah, you and I both are like, how is he just wide open at some points in the game? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, even if you're doing a zone, you would think like, okay, maybe we should just follow this guy, and make sure he doesn't get wide open. So, but yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, and part of it is just Travis Kelce's game. He sees those things so easily that he knows how to manipulate the defense to get himself open, which is crazy because you always talk about quarterbacks doing that to a defense, but Travis Kelce as a receiver can also manipulate the defense. But with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the playoffs and just seeing how they're playing, this is what makes guys superstars and future Hall of Famers. Like it really does. When the games that really matter are on the board, what are your superstars doing to win that game? And right now, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are showing you this is what superstars and future Hall of Famers do when games matter. They know how to flip that switch. They know how to take it to the next level. And it's not that they're not trying hard in the other games, but they just know how important that these games are because if you lose, you go home.
Yeah.
And they're doing that and elevating everybody else around them as well.
Right.
So, but because of all these things too, you see some what they call Mahomes magic, right? I mean, Mahomes threw a touchdown pass, falling forward and splitting two defenders to find Travis Kelce in the end zone.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how hard that pass really is. If you don't know how hard that is, here's what I suggest you go out to your front yard or backyard.
Yeah.
Or go to a park or wherever you need to go. Get a football.
Somewhere not public, probably.
Yeah. You don't want people watching this. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You just set one person up and say, catch this ball. Or, if you don't want anybody watching, set up a chair.
Yeah.
Put two things, have two people or two moving things coming towards that center object.
Yeah.
You fall forward from 15, 20 yards away, however far it was, and throw that ball. Don't throw it until you're almost parallel with the ground, though, okay? So fall forward and throw it and just see if you can even get it to that target, let alone split the defenders coming at it.
Yeah.
I mean,
by the way, someone is holding on to your left side.
Yeah,
someone's grabbing, pulling you down at the same time. So it reminded me a little bit of that Super Bowl we don't like talking about.
Oh, I know. Me too. Me too. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it reminded me of that Super Bowl play where it hit Tyreek Hill right in the face mask. And
that one wasn't Tyreek Hill. That one was Damian Williams.
Oh, it was Damian? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so it hit him right in the face mask and fell to the ground. So it's like, oh, man.
Yeah, that one was even more impressive because he was literally parallel with the ground when he threw it. This one, he was probably more at a 45-degree angle, but still falling either way. So not to get too math on us here. So.
Yeah. I just love seeing you with your protractor on this TV screen. Yeah, it's about 45.
Man, protractor.
Jill's like,
time.
what are you doing? Like, listen, I gotta get it for the pod, man. For the pod, right?
All for the pod. See what we do for the people that are tuning in. So you're welcome. You're welcome. So, but hey, here's another thing too. Yeah. With Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes doing all that, it did surprise me that D-Hop got 0 targets.
Man,
0.
Well, he threw one to him, but I guess they didn't consider it a target because it was behind him. But somehow D-Hop still got his hand on it. But yeah, it was 0.
I just expect it to be between him and Hollywood Brown. I expect them to have a much bigger role than they did.
Yeah, and I don't know what was going on. I mean, Hollywood Brown, they had the one where they went deep and he couldn't hold on to it, in which the defender made an amazing play.
Yeah,
not giving up on it.
No fault to Hollywood Brown, but that was an amazing catch and would have been almost still was, but yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to connect on one of those too. And I just love seeing that was a perfect pass 50 yards down the field. I mean, hey, I don't want to jinx us, but knock on wood here. Hear that wood?
Yeah.
You hear that wood? Want to make sure you hear it.
I heard it.
Patrick Mahomes' deep ball is back, folks.
Yeah, there you go.
It's back. He's found it.
I love it.
It's back in his arsenal of things he can do again. We were questioning it, maybe not we, but people were questioning it.
Sure.
In the season, and hey, it's back.
Yeah. Now, if Hollywood Brown would have made that catch, we wouldn't have saw this Travis Kelce 47-yard run.
That's true.
So we'll give and take. Now, I was surprised. Let's talk about the wide receivers. I was surprised one that Hollywood Brown and D-Hop didn't have a bigger role, but I was also so impressed with Worthy. Worthy had a big game and made some big catches. I mean, he's made some contested catches. And so, I thought that was really neat to see him do that. And then, but we need to get these wide receivers in the rotation here, just so we're not one dimensional with Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt.
And I'll tell you this: I think next week we're going to see a much different group of guys step up, because I think the Bills, and not that we're talking about them yet, but they're going to try to take Kelce away, and we're going to see some other guys. They have to.
They'll have to,
and I think they will too. I think D-Hop and Hollywood Brown, they've never made to the AFC Championship game, and they're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready.
I'll tell you right now, they're going to be ready.
Yeah. I do want to, sorry.
Go for it.
Okay. Give a shout out to Juju Smith-Schuster and P. Ryan. Those guys, if you just watch the film about what they do, how Juju, he was an all-star, like a superstar in the league.
Yeah.
And he has come to Kansas City and he blocks. That's what he does. That's all Juju, and it's so impressive to me. And then P. Ryan, another guy who started in this league, and he's on doing kickoff, and he recovers that fumble. Just the little things that these guys do. And so it shows you how much of a team game this really is for the guys, because without those guys just go, we don't talk about them. Right. But I was just as I was watching the game, I was like, man, Juju's out there just making blocks for Xavier Worthy, a rookie. He could really much get in his head and be like, I should be running that ball. I should be getting the ball, not Xavier. I'm the vet, and so just to see, and the same with P. Ryan. I mean, he's a vet and he's doing kickoff. Yeah. He's doing anything to help the team. And so I just wanted to, I really appreciate those guys. And then Joe Tooney, we can talk about that, how his whole position is, there's a reason why he was drafted as a left guard, right? Not a left tackle. And him to say, raise his hands, I'll go out there and do that. It's amazing to see this team. It's something special. And so hopefully we're appreciating that. And I know you are. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those guys are doing the dirty work. And you just watch when guys score touchdowns, Juju is one of the first guys to celebrate with anybody. Yes. And he's a huge smile on his face. He is so happy for those guys. So I agree. Those guys deserve a shout out. So last few questions here before we jump into some player reactions.
Okay.
So first question, not really a question, more of a statement. Leo Chenal, maybe, I don't know if he's unheralded anymore. He's now blocked 3 field goals in a calendar year, 2 this year, and blocked 1 in the Super Bowl last year. He might be the best field goal blocker in the NFL.
There you go.
I'm just saying it. I mean, that guy is always finding his way to get his hand on a ball. I mean, phenomenal.
The beast. Yeah. There you go.
So not really a question, but just throwing that thought out there for you. But here's the real question, though, too. So when the Chiefs scored their last touchdown there, so they kick an extra point to go up by 8, but a lot of people were saying they should have gone for a 2-point conversion to go up by 9 to be up 2 possessions. So if that's you, what are you doing in that situation? Are you going for the 2 or just trying to go up by 8?
I am going up by 8. Because I still think that's put pressure on you to convert the 2-point conversion. Then now you're only up by 7, which now that ties them. And so I think it also puts pressure on the team that they have to convert a 2-point. So not only does it score, but they also have to convert a 2-point conversion. So I'm doing what Andy Reid did there 100% all the time.
I 100% agree with that too. So I saw people saying that. I thought I wouldn't. Why would you put pressure on yourself instead of putting pressure on the other team?
Well, the idiot Troy Aikman. That guy was the one banging that drum. He goes, I don't know why they're not going for 2. Well, because do the math, bud. We're going to trust our defense. And I think that also says we trust our defense, that they're going to hold them. They're going to stop them, if they give up a touchdown, guess what? They're going to stop them on the 2-point try. And so, I think that's what's going on there. And Troy Aikman and Joe Buck should not be doing playoff games. There's a reason why I watch the Manning cast is because I cannot stand
Troy Aikman has never been a fan of Mahomes ever since the Kansas City Star tweeted out, I think is in Mahomes' rookie year, maybe his second year, is before he ever won a Super Bowl. And he said, Patrick Mahomes now has 33% of Troy Aikman's career passing yards and 10% of the games or something like that. And Troy Aikman actually responded and says, let me know when he has 33% of my Super Bowls.
Well, he's got that now,
In case
but
you're wondering,
he's caught up.
when he got his first Super Bowl, I for sure tweeted back at Troy Aikman says, "Hey, just letting you know, he now has 33%." So, because I think Troy Aikman has 3, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
he does.
So they're tied now. So he's not been a fan of him encroaching on his record ever since then. Like most of these veteran guys, they're all for this next generation coming in and celebrating them. Troy Aikman's not that way, so it's just not how he's built. So
no.
All right, the real talk here.
All right.
I mean, the player reactions to this game are just off the wall.
Yeah,
off the wall. So ever since this game ended, from the head coach on down, these players for the Texans, they're clamoring about the refs. They're clamoring about all these things that shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of thing.
Right.
Like if these things would happen, we should have won this game. And what do you think about all this, or what have you heard about this? How do you process all these things these players are saying?
Yeah, it's I think like it's sad because they're instead of like congratulating the Chiefs or talking about what you could have done better, like maybe not give up a 60-yard kickoff, maybe not miss an extra point and 2 field goals. You're talking about the refs took it from us, and so I think like the big thing is like, man, your special teams did not show up. Now your defense was good. Your offense was adequate, but I mean, only 12 points. I mean, so, it's just like, hey, maybe talk about that stuff instead of like roasting, like making excuses. And I think we need to get out as a culture. We need to get out of this making excuses and just own things. And so the Kansas City Chiefs have been on the wrong side of calls before, and you don't hear Andy Reid making excuses. He goes, even – he's just like, hey, we just got to be better. We got to sharpen up. We got to control what we can control. And so, and to sit here and say, like, we knew when we were walking into the game that we had to beat everybody. I mean, everybody, and he's saying the refs. And I think Will Anderson or Hunter openly said the refs. We knew the refs were going to be against us in this game. I think that just is, and I think you have a great theory on who this is.
Yeah, well, let me share my theory with you. So, just answer this for the people who may not know. Who is the one team, and people can probably guess this anyways, but who's the one team in the NFL who over the last, 3 or 4 years has been clamoring and just shouting from the rooftops that the Chiefs get all the calls and no one else gets any? Who's the one team?
I think it's the jabroni mayor of Cincinnati.
That's right. The Cincinnati Bengals. And this is not just their fans, this is their players. Openly saying this. They talk so much about the Chiefs, win, lose, and then they complain that they lost because of a call here or there or wherever it is. Who was on that team last year who's now playing for the Houston Texans?
Oh, I think it's the running back. They had a great game. He had a great game, by the way.
Joe Mixon. Yeah, he had a great game. Joe Mixon. They said before that game started, Joe Mixon said that he was stood before his team to tell them how to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. And then afterwards, you hear everybody talking about these refs and how they can't win because of the refs. You don't think that when Joe Mixon talked to the team about, quote, how to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, that he all said, you're going to have to beat the refs too? Why is everybody talking about this if that wasn't also included in that talk? So that's my theory, is that Joe Mixon got into their heads and kind of spoiled them a little bit on what is going to happen in the game, whether it's true or not.
Right. Yeah. So if you don't want penalties thrown on you, don't make penalties.
That's right.
And I think that's what the good teams do. I think they learn a way to clean up certain things, So
I mean, this is the playoffs now. Good teams don't beat themselves. They don't turn the ball over. They don't blame the refs. They make the plays when needed in critical positions to win the game.
And hey, how about you don't give up 8 sacks?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing too. So,
how about you don't do that? So
Hey, well, thanks for joining us this episode of the Kingdom Corner. This episode is brought to you by Oh Hey Threads. Get your own super soft tee or hoodie at ohheythreads.com. We'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.